Hello everybody, it's Cheeky again, and I just wanted to talk to you again about the reason why I did make a video yesterday, and the reason why I felt there was something quite insidious happening rather than just an average Joe kind of copyright dispute. Anyway, let's get into this. I've been talking to a lot of other YouTubers, smaller YouTubers, of course, don't know any big ones, about the problems that we have been having, and to outline the reason why I came to a few conclusions. Of course, it's always never enough, but just enough to evidence to put in your mind something what's going on. Now, the first thing when I was talking about Bering yesterday was the fact not that he was given a copyright claim, but the fact that it was 3 in a row and his channel was taken down without any warning. This was my main point. I was mischaracterized by two other YouTubers, and they're big ones, and so I'm flattered that they watch what I had to say. But with Bering, yeah, it's a legitimate copyright claim. The fact that they didn't give him the chance to respond or even to negotiate really throws up heaps of red flags for me. It's been my job to see such patterns in things, to see PSYOP campaigns and what the eventual outcomes would be. And what we've seen is, just leading up to Bering's channel being taken down in the last 3 days, is the fact that 12 other channels that I know of have been taken down as well. As you can see, I've got my list here of the channels that I did find that either were doxed, had DMCA claims, many of them from multiple sources, meaning it's a coordinated thing. If they wanted to go under the radar, they should have spread it out a bit. But it seems that it isn't spread out that way. As you can see, the natural trend is that these people here, except for one outlier that I found, are all non-PC channels, controversial channels, alternative media channels, that have really, not necessarily extreme views or anything like that, but actual just not mainstream PC channels, except for Love Kitten here. I couldn't find out from Love Kitten what kind of channel that they ran. I assumed that it was about kittens and everything, but I don't know if they actually made any comments about any political comments, what would be considered good enough for either DMC attack or doxing attack or some other kind of attack, which happened to Edgy Sphinx. From his mouth is he got a call from a lawyer saying that there was going to be a litigation case against him for talking against AFTA and another APAC, he says, lawyer, came to him saying if he didn't, toe the line, that they were going to take legal action. Of course, we can only take them at their own word. CS MGTOW, he was doxed. This guy, he got his channel back, but they wouldn't allow any of his political commentary back up. Yeah, these guys had their videos suspended or unable to be accessed. You can see the things. You can see that the video listings are there, but they're not accessible. And for everybody else who are not, that aren't the channel supervisor or whatever themselves, can't actually see the videos at all. And originally Edgy Sphinx came up with the description wasn't that this is no longer available originally. I wish I took a screen print of that, because originally it said he'd broken the rules of conduct for YouTube was original. Then that changed halfway through the day. But anyway, what I've been doing is trying to talk to other YouTubers what are not mainstream, not PC or alternative media, to see what kinds of things we can actually do to protect ourselves against that. And number one is don't use copyrighted material, and certainly not in a capacity that cannot be considered fair use, like Barry did, what was absolutely crazy. But the fact that they gave him no room to move, no room to negotiate, was the part what threw up the red flags for me, because certainly if I was a copyright holder of something like an image of Bearing, I'd rather have contact with that person directly to see what they have to say, to negotiate maybe even a royalty on that, or to actually just say, look, please change the avatar, because I don't want to be associated with whatever you're peddling, whatever it might be. But Bearing was never given that opportunity, and it does, and to me, I don't have any doubt in my mind that it was strategic, and especially when they're going to attack 12 channels in 3 days. So yeah, you can decide for yourself how much that stinks. But what we have seen as well is the unsubscription thing. Well, I've listed everyone that I've been unsubscribed from before the 12th, before the 7th of the 12th. For the Americans, that'd be the 12th of the 7th, 2016. And at this stage, I believe, wow, I've got a few that I've been unsubscribed from, as of course, without my permission, without any warning, without any reason, just unsubscribed from them. And this time, there are no outliers. All the people on the list that you can check right now by pausing or whatever and go to their channels, they are all controversial channels, all ones non-PC channels. So there's something very, very, very sinister about that. Of course, it becomes even more convincing when I tell you I am a multiple opinion digester. I am subscribed to all the other, from feminism, social justice channels, and a lot of other channels I can't think off the top of my head, to get alternative views, and funnily enough, none of them are on this list here. None of them. And I'm subscribed to a lot of channels and a fair amount of feminist channels and social justice channels. And what was the other one? The anti-fascist one. Anti-MGTOW ones, the two that I know of. And they're certainly not on this list. So if this was just a straight up program problem, why is it only unsubscribing me from alternative view channels only. Now, what's been told to me as well, during my conversations with the duelist, the distributist, we had a good conversation for almost an hour and a half there about it. Is a lot of people have been talking about being for subscriptions as well. Mind you, I don't have any examples of this, and I can't remember exactly all the details, so I didn't put them on the list on this forced subscription thing. But I did find one morning that I woke up and I'm subscribed to a toy unboxing channel. What was just so absurd that I would subscribe to such a channel. It was one of those channels with about 1 million subscribers that I don't understand anything why so many 1 million people would want to subscribe and see toy unboxings. But that's the way the world works, apparently. And so I unsubscribed from that and never gave it another thought. Mind you, to it, as far as I remember now, 2 other people have mentioned this in passing, and the distributist, he said that he had a number of forced subscriptions as well. And unfortunately, without evidence and actual proof, we don't really have any recourse. And it'd be very hard to prove these things, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to start recording the channels that you're unsubscribed from. I don't mind if you send those lists to me either. That's at cheeky.bastard@hotmail.com, and just list the ones that you have been unsubscribed from. I don't mind even screen captures where you from one day to the next to show the disappearing unsubscribed, being unsubscribed. Now, oh God, there was somebody else, no holds barred, and somebody else I can't think of off the top of my head said that every single time they put out a video, that they lose subscribers. Now, this rang a bell with me because I'd heard this from a number of different channels. That's right, Chris Raygun, and a couple others I can't think of right at the moment, that they put out a video and they lose subscribers like clockwork, and mechanistic action. I wouldn't put past Google, being the skills that they have of covering things up, that they wouldn't program in something to unsubscribe people when you put a video out, so it looks like people are legitimately unsubscribing from you. And though we would have a really hard time legally proving that, it is something that is against the law in America and most Western countries, on the fact of dishonest trading. Department of Fair Trading prosecute these things, and they will do it to anybody. It wouldn't matter if it was Google. Mind you, they'd have 1,000 lawyers and all the rest of it. But we do have a number of other things we discussed about protecting ourselves. Of course, the other alternatives and stuff like that came up a lot. But the most important thing is documentation. Number one, if we're getting discriminated against, we certainly need to start recording that information and compiling it so that we have a serious case so that it actually does get Google nervous about this sort of bad publicity. They don't really care about a whole heap of people, making a ruckus about being unsubscribed and that, but they will be concerned about how people would view that, and and how they would be influenced by that. It's it's a thing about having a certain profile, and Google's been getting some really bad press lately. So this isn't a bad way to go. You don't have to prove a case, but if it looks bad enough, then the people who protect Google's image will most certainly start putting pressure on them to stop doing such things. Another person had another great idea, Rich FiveFiveSix. He said it wouldn't be a bad thing to actually write to people who advertise with YouTube and apprise them of what's going on. Maybe some of them would disapprove of the way YouTube's doing this, and if those companies were to say, look, we don't like what you're doing, and a number of them actually said that would put pressure on Google to stop again with the hardcore censorship. And when I say the hardcore censorship, I mean they're using soft power and hard power and vigilantes to create a hostile environment for anybody who has a non-mainstream view or puts up non-mainstream content. Now, I see that as putting a little bit of pressure on them, maybe get the propaganda people a little, agitated, and to protect Google's image, they may just stop it, slowly phase it out, and hope nobody notices in that department. So that's kind of like the psychological warfare that they're using against us. The whole demonetization thing, the obscure new rules of conduct, rules of use, and all that sort of thing. It's the same mechanism, and there's no reason why it wouldn't make a difference. Now, there is another aspect to this, is that civil suits as well are not a bad way to go if you can actually prove them. Even the threat of a civil suit, which has a decent amount of evidence and weight behind it, is enough to make Google think twice about these really dishonest practices. I find it appalling practices. There's not words in the vocabulary to actually describe what I think about it. But last and finally is the creating and support of alternative media sites. Now, everybody knows kind of about the Daily Motion and VidMe and stuff like that, but they're not a great deal different than Google and YouTube themselves. And this is why I want to bring up and to even put a spiel, yes, and promote Minds.com. What you can see, I'm going to put this in the description as well, that to actually create a little bit of competition, even if it's a tiny only 1/100th of the market, Google will get the hint and will have to change their policies to stem the tide of the hemorrhaging of content creators. At the moment, Minds.com is not monetized. So for content creators, it's not viable for a living. But the only thing stopping that is the fact that minds.com is open source and is absolutely dedicated to freedom of speech, and have made a vow to never silence or silence and censor people with any reasonable views. Of course, things like there's a number of things you can think of that would probably not be savoury, but they're the only ones who at this stage have given us an absolute guarantee that there will not be silencing. The only one, VidMe, if everybody went over there in Daily Motion, we have no reassurances that they will protect our interests. Now, to get this project monetization, all that, when Bill Ottman has said, the creator of and organizer of Minds, what is open source, so you can even look at the back end of their programming. Yes, Paul Joseph Watson on here. Now, all your best and favourite channels are all on here, and at the moment, no ads at all. There's Sargon of Akkad, Beware of Darkness, Paper Ghost there. So you're getting, basically, there's Dave the man, with his content up there, and Undoom. See, all your biggest and favourite YouTubers are on here, and they're putting their content on here, so it is absolutely worth your while supporting minds.com. But what's more important, I suppose, from a content producer point of view, is the ability to monetize and monetize their content to make a living off of it. And what's stopping that at the moment is because this is an open source project that is funded privately by the people who are creating the website, the resources. They have, one funding issue, but they have personnel issues as well. And if there is anybody who can actually help out with PHP and other types of database programming for websites, that would be fantastic. And what I would suggest is getting in contact with Bill at minds.com, and just sussing out what you might be able to help him with, because the sooner minds.com actually gets monetized and people can actually make money off of it, you will see a greater gravitation of all of your most favorite YouTubers becoming exclusively on Minds and not censoring themselves just to keep YouTube happy, just so their videos won't get demonetized. They will give you the unfiltered truth because they know they are protected. And the reason why they're protected is this is not a company. It's not a company as such. So therefore, it's not all about making money. It's about supporting the truth. And I'm hoping that you will support them. And I hope to see you and all of your favourite YouTubers on minds.com in transmission.